I'm sitting here with Travis Todd from Boue. Travis, thanks for being here.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, nice to see you again.
It's great. It's always great to come see you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So, small producer, right? I mean,
Sure.
the interviews we've done in the past, they're all been kind of larger producers. We've interviewed Archery Summit, Sokol Blosser, Domaine Druid, but I really want to hone in on the smaller producers in the valley that are making extraordinary Pinot Noirs that most people probably don't even know about.
Sure.
So, talk to us. How did you get into making wine? You know, Vista Grande Vineyard is. I mean, you acquired it a couple years ago, correct?
We started farming it a couple years ago.
Okay.
So it was the first place that we ever bought grapes. That's the first site that we ever worked with for Boue. So once we started farming that, we kind of brought a lot of it under our control, and we were able to kind of help the vineyard go in a direction that I think is positive.
Sure.
But we started out with no money, so we didn't have purchase of vineyard money. We didn't have. We started out with 2 tons in 2019.
So what sparked the project?
So the project began, I guess, in my mind many years ago. I worked at a private ski resort called the Yellowstone Club for a number of years, and I got to taste incredible wines from all over the world, and some of the best wines in the world. And my interest went from what do I smell and taste, and just talking about it, to how do you get it to do that? I wanted to figure out and learn how to take grapes that are growing somewhere and then turn it into the art, and so that's where it kind of began. Was always like a quest for knowledge, and it's just like continual curiosity. It overwhelmed. It was like, okay, I want to learn about wine. I want to learn about this region. I want to learn about this place. Why these things taste good, and it went from why do they taste good to how do you get it to do that, and I just kept following it for.
And that's the incredible thing
years.
Is that most of these small producers start with larger producers and then branch off to do their own thing after having years and years of winemaking training or associate winemakers. But you have no winemaking experience other than what you started, so you kind of taught yourself how to make extraordinary Pinot?
Yeah, a little bit. I worked for a large company for a while. I worked for Integrated Beverage Group.
Okay.
And we made Rascal, Duck Pond, Ransom wines, a lot of different brands that are kind of more widely distributed. So I got to learn in that way. I just started at the bottom. I didn't go to school for it. I just jumped in, started entry-level job, made $12 an hour. And always thought about what I would do if I were in charge, and that was kind of where this came from. This was an opportunity to do what we wanted to do, work with sites that we wanted to work with, do the kind of more nerdy thing and pay attention to it in a different way than like worrying about throughput and trying to,
Sure.
make volume. So we started this in the corner of the winery. They were nice enough to let me begin in the corner of the winery and wish me luck. And then I, eventually it grew to enough where I left that job and got to do this. Yeah, and we it was very serendipitous to be able to start farming the vineyard because we didn't have any money. So it was a way to make the grapes more affordable for us. And kind of scale our business in a way that was very, I think, unique to other. It was very unique to other ways of doing it, especially if you're cash strapped.
Yeah.
That was
your first production was Vista Grande.
First production was Vista Grande.
2019.
2019. Yeah.
Why Vista Grande?
I found it much more fun to try and find sites that would give you what you want and let the grapes express that way, rather than say, I want something that's going to be high acid, really tannic, or whatever whatever your variables are of the art that you want to make. It's much easier to find sites that give you those tools as opposed to, oh my gosh, I'm going to try and push this thing in a different direction or pick it too early because I want this certain acid profile, or things like that. So it was. When I went there, I looked around and I was like, this is high elevation, this is There are different aspects of the vineyard. The lower vineyard, the rows run east-west. The upper vineyard, the rows run north-south. So we get kind of it's actually like almost two different vineyards, even though it's only 5 acres. Kind of treat it differently. And so that's just kind of how it came about. I met Doug and Kate, and they were really, really great to work with. And when we started being able to farm it, I got to have a hand in it. And it was mid-pandemic anyway, so that's where we spent our weekends.
Nice. So speaking of wines you want to make, you just mentioned that you have tasted some of the best wines from all over the world. So when you're making Vista Grande, or the style in your head of what you wanted to create, what is that? Are you trying to replicate something that you've had before, like emulate a style of Burgundy or California, or are you trying to kind of like do your own thing and make it what are you trying to build?
What am I trying to build?
Well, hold on real quick actually. So
okay,
this is the 2022 Vista Grande.
Yep.
So we're drinking 2022. So this is your third release? Fourth release, yeah, 2019.
It's always hard to think of like what year you're on. Like we just did 6 harvests. We're selling 2022. So the 23s will come out in March. But yeah, so to answer the question of am I trying to emulate something, I think the only thing I really try to emulate is I want there to be a food friendliness. I think that the music is between the notes. I think leaving some space for the food is really, really important. I don't want to be so dogmatic as to say Pinot Noir only goes with X thing.
Sure.
I want it to be a great bottle of wine on the table that goes with a lot of different things and pleases a lot of people. And leaving some space in there, I think having a little bit more delicate hand on extraction, is always a goal of mine. But I also want it to be the right amount. I'm looking for balance. So, I think this compared to Temperance Hill is 2 vastly different wines.
Very.
And I think you have to lean into what the vineyard is giving you, as well as what your thought might be. What do I want to bring to the forefront? I want the fruit to be the most important thing. That's the most important thing to me. Tasting the fruit. I think the fruit's the star of the show. We're going to sit around and talk about terroir and that grapes taste different when they grow in different places, which is absolutely true. I think not getting in the way of that fruit and letting it express itself in a really unique way that is singular to that place.
So are you pretty hands-off in the winery then?
I mean, I feel like that's a trap phrase. Hands-off in the winery is like, I do a lot of work. I really, yeah.
Your winemaking style is minimalistic.
Yeah, I think so. I don't want other things to intrude. I try not to impart other flavors into the wines, and that's just a stylistic choice of myself. Having made a lot of wine, I think finding places that can do it, and I don't think you can do it with just any old site. I don't think you can just go, I'm gonna get these grapes, and now I'm gonna do this. I think choosing sites that work with my methodology is important to me.
Sure.
And I think having that relationship is maybe of the utmost importance. Because there's great wines in the world that have a lot of new oak or less new oak, or there's I want all these things to work together to build its own identity, but I don't want anything to be overwhelming. And when you make such a small amount, if we only make 100 cases of this a year, if you have one new barrel, it's 25% new oak. And I think with a wine that's this light, it's just going to overwhelm it. And so there's a choice to not use new oak in this wine because it's already so light, it's already so delicate. It grows at 850 feet elevation. It tilts a little bit north, so when you can look at it and see the color is just really light, and you can tell it doesn't get crazy direct sunlight. So it's a really trying to figure out what that site kind of wants or needs is something that I just try to hone in on.
Your case production's quite small, so you're doing about 100 cases then of each wine you're making?
Each single vineyard is about 100 cases, yeah. And we've grown a little bit, so I guess for the 2022 vintage, each one of the single vineyards was 100 cases. The total production for 2023, which is about to be released, will be 2,500 cases.
Nice.
So a little bit more. We've gone up in volume just a little bit, but the sites that we work with aren't really getting bigger, and so we're adding on new vineyards kind of as we go a little bit, because like Vista Grande, we already get all the fruit from there, so we're not can't make more than that. Some of it goes to Willamette Valley Blend, but generally speaking, we can't. We're not. There's a cap at how much we can make. So
Sure.
I think the 2023 vintage will be about 300 cases of Vista Grande. So we've kind of just grown at really small increments like that because, we didn't have the financial backing to just go completely crazy, which has been a good constraint.
So then where are all of your wines going? Is it mostly restaurants, wholesale, you're going direct to consumer?
Both. So I don't know the breakdown of the exact percentages. We're distributed in 8 states, including Oregon, which is really, really nice. And we have an allocation list. So because we've kind of grown in that slow fashion, we've had a wait list for about a year, but we're slowly, as we make more a little bit, trying to pull people off the wait list for our direct. But I'm pretty much a one-man show, so there's limitations on how many things can we do and how many things can we do really, really well. It makes it difficult. So in Oregon, we sell to maybe 4 places, and you guys being one of them, it's like,
we love it.
Who do we know, and who can we support in a great way? How can I provide the service to you that's not you calling me and you're out and I'm not in town or whatever it might be. Who can we really want that service level to be really high. So we want to make an amount of wine that isn't, okay, now I'm stretched so far that I don't get to meet you or talk to you or talk
Sure.
to people or connect with people that actually have our wine, and that's really important.
Well, we really appreciate having the wine on our list. When I first tasted your wine, it was 2019, and I fell in love with that. I think we took 6 cases right
Dude,
at the start.
So it was really funny because it was a very good feather in our cap. So I appreciate your early support for sure. And in the early days of any winemaker, it's hard to find their first vintages because they need money so bad. So I remember selling you that wine and being like, we had set some aside. I was like, we'll drink this forever. I think I have 3 bottles of 2019 now because you kind of wiped us out. But it was very welcomed and helped us grow and get to the next stage. So I'm appreciative of it. But it's
it fits really nicely on the list because our list is huge. We have 700 different selections in total, all from Oregon, and our guests know this, but we have such a vast selection of the light and ethereal side, the extracted dark side, but De La Boue kind of sticks out on that list because there's no other wine like it on the program. It's very light, the 19 especially. Not that that's a bad thing, but it's something that has a niche for sure. And when we get guests that are looking for something that's easy drinking but elegant and still has structure and goes with the entire menu, and they're looking for a specific price range, De La Boue is such a great sell for it. We constantly are seeing ourselves up the pricing on the De La Boue because it's selling so much, and we're getting down to our last few bottles of the 19, which was your first vintage. So we want to, keep those on there, but also still have them offering. And it's such a fun wine because, if there's nothing else like on the list, if I'm trying to compare it to something else, I'd probably compare it most to Soder, Mineral Springs, but I'm sure you know a lot about that because Tess works there. But
yeah,
that's probably the style that I would kind of emulate it as.
Okay.
But Soder itself still even has it's got a lot more structure and a lot more sort of depth to it. The De La Boue is just phenomenal.
Thanks, man.
It's like drinking velvet, like Pinot Velvet, and it's delicious.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to blush. That's high praise, for sure. I think this, I just have to give a lot of credit to the vineyard as well because where that vineyard is, it's just in such a great site. It's very singular. I don't think I haven't tasted Pinot Noir that tastes like it almost anywhere. So, it's really fun to get to work with a place that that has been so ingrained in us, and hopefully that can continue on into the future. And as we continue to grow a little bit, we want to plant our own flag somewhere. We want to have our own place. We want to have our own vineyard.
Absolutely.
So it's been really phenomenal to get to be in the vineyard a lot, often, or quite often, and see things develop and be prepared for them in the winery. So earlier when you were talking about being hands off, it's like it's actually, I feel like it's much more hands on before it all shows up to the winery. And then when it shows up to the winery, if you've got it in the right place, you can kind of let it go its own direction. And that's something that we try to do. But we got to listen to the fruit. I mean, when the fruit shows up, it's probably very similar to when food shows up here. When you get something in, if your salad is wilty, then you're gonna have wilty salad. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like
you want the best stuff.
Right. So trying to fix that is difficult, right, on the food side. And the same, this is a food product, and we get to take artistic license with it, which is, I think, the most fun, but is also like a huge responsibility to, the 1,000 hours of work that go into farming before it even shows up. There's been a lot of things done before it ever gets to the winery. So, try to give that reverence and be able to, let it come through.
Well, Travis, appreciate the time today.
Yeah, man.
Cheers to 1,000 hours and the listening of the fruit.
Thanks, dude.
Cheers.